Good afternoon, everybody. I say good afternoon, good evening, everybody, to the World Online Racing Legacy Division. Round 12. We're at Canada tonight, and this is going to be one hell of a race. I am certain of it. We've had a break week last week because of England actually playing football and not doing too badly, I suppose, and are through for the knockout stages. But we're not here about the World Cup. We're on about the proper world race. I hope you like what I did there. Anyway, I'm joined by Callum. Callum, welcome along. This is going to be an entertaining one.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Good evening, everyone. It will certainly be a good one tonight. Canada is the track that we host tonight, and it certainly will always bring a little bit of action. Only 3 rounds left in the calendar, so it's certainly getting to the rear end of the season now. But I am certainly looking forward to it, and yeah, it should be a pretty good race.
Now, we did our maths before just literally as the countdown timer was on, and I think I'm pretty certain we read it from a tweet as well. It's 15 points PSR need to outscore FRA to take it to the next round, because at the moment it's looking like FRA is pretty much unstoppable.
Yes, they are, and when you look at the standings as well, FRA, Otis Lawrence has won every race bar Monza, and Monza won on track, then got a penalty after the race by the Stewart. So, yeah, I think if FRA wins tonight, if Otis Lawrence or the other FRA driver racing tonight wins tonight, they have the title. The constructors is all but wrapped up. 117 points is the gap between the two teams. So, yeah, it would take something pretty amazing now to stop FRA.
Now, if Otis Lawrence was a team on his own, he would be in second place. That's how dominant he's been. I know you've mentioned that he's won every race apart from that one at Monza, but it's just incredible, isn't it? I'm not saying it's the skill of him, but it's just the sheer ability that he has.
Yeah, it is. I think it's we must sound like the Otis Lawrence fan club every week, because I think I sing his praises every time I'm commentating over him, but it's fully deserved. For such a young guy, he virtually carried FRA to the title this year. I say that as if FRA have won, but it's because they virtually have. He has won all the races this year, and FRA have won all but one, as I said, and that all came from Otis Lawrence. So, yeah, he's been unstoppable this year, and he's wrapped up the World Online Racing Championship, that driver's title. He's wrapped up the driver's title here in World as well, so he's just got this last one to go for with his team FRA, and then that is pretty much him completed the Xbox side of things.
And the whole, if those of you who know Jay from In-Betweeners, completed it, mate. He's definitely completed pretty much everything to do with the Xbox side of things. And, it's not just about him, though. Let's talk about the other things that are going on within Legacy Division at the moment. The battle for P3 is hotting up. There is not very many points between Visceral and Team Shizou in 3rd and 4th place there, respectively. That's one that we're going to keep an eye out for because Leopard he's just getting himself caught in problems, but Shizou are still managing to get points, and he's managing to get himself back into the swing of things as well, and doing a really solid job in certain races.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting one, actually. Both teams struggling a little bit for consistency, I think. Shizou sometimes carried by Leopard, as you've mentioned, and then VSR sometimes having great races. I remember back to Austria when they got that one too, but then you look at last week as well, where I think both drivers actually failed to score. So yeah, a lot of inconsistency, but in different ways. The two teams have kind of struggled with this year, but it makes it pretty interesting. Not a lot of points, I should say, between the two of them, and with 3 rounds to go, that one is certainly wide open.
Now, and the last one as well, isn't it? It's False Group Esports, who are just 9 points behind Velox Esports as well. That's and obviously Velox have left earlier in the season. I think it was round 5 the last time they were here. So they're trying to build on the momentum they've had. But Novus, who's now got Matthew, I don't think Matthew's racing tonight, and Bunga, ups and downs for all of those drivers.
Yeah, the standings do look a little bit messy when you look at them. You've got I think it's 14 teams on the standings, so it does look a little bit crazy. And I think we've had 3 different teams in the Alpha Romeo this year, which just certainly keeps us on our toes. But yeah, all over the field, especially in that mid pack, there's not a lot between it. I think 6th at the moment, False Group Esports on 50 points, then only in 10th is ERL on 28. So there's not a lot in it, and it only really takes 1 or 2 good results here or there, and you could find yourself as a team possibly gain 2 or 3 positions.
Now, let us get over to the action on track. I believe we have FRA Joran, if I pronounced that correctly, on track. Let's have a look at him come down the back straight now. And, I mean, I don't want to say not ideal, but it looks like another new teammate up against Otis, and that's... Otis has had struggles keeping his teammates around for long periods of time.
Yeah, he has actually. I'm not actually ahead of him either. I'm not too sure if that's to be a bit of ignorance on my part from not maybe following Xbox League Racing too much. But it's certainly a new name. I've not seen him in the last couple of months in WOR. Maybe he's been recently, but definitely at the start of the season I've not seen the name about. So I'm really intrigued to see what he can do tonight. But he certainly must be quick. If he's getting the call up from FRA, he has to be pretty good. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what Joran can do tonight. As you mentioned, the very tough teammate, Otis Lawrence, the best there is on Xbox. So yeah, you've got some big shoes to fill as well when you think of the teammates there has been in FRA. But yeah, wish him the best of luck. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Now, what happens next for FRA if on the console side of things? Because if Otis does go to PC, that's yeah, that kind of leaves a massive hole in their arsenal.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I think my kind of great example of it is if you look at TPS. I'm not too sure that if anyone follows it, but FRA don't field Otis Lawrence in that, and it's been Matthew or Peasty or some other drivers that kind of fly the flag for them in that tournament in FRA, and I don't know where they are, but they're definitely not dominating it by the standards that they have in World. So I think it really is an interesting one for FRA. They're maybe trying to bring the new batch through. You have Ron, how you had Otis Lawrence, and they're maybe just looking for that next one because yeah, they are really probably heavily reliant on the needs of Otis Lawrence. I'm just looking at the PSR standings. So FRA are 4th in that league without Otis Lawrence. So it kind of just shows you sometimes how good Otis Lawrence can be. And yeah, it's an interesting point. When Otis Lawrence does move off to PC, it certainly will be an interesting one to see how FRA do cope with that.
Let's see what Otis Lawrence... Oh, he can't. He's invalidated, so already. I was going to see, let's see what he can do on a set of intermediates on a dry track. That'll be very entertaining. But this... Well, Canadian circuit is 14 corners in total and a lot of straight, but some technical sides part of the tracks as well, which can be a bit tricky. The main one is the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a really interesting corner, a really tricky corner as well, and it's situated right at the end of the lap. So if you've got a great lap, everything's riding on those last 2 corners, so I'm sure it'll catch a few people out tonight, not only in qualifying but the race as well, because I think warnings and exceeding track limits is certainly going to be a big part to play tonight as well. Canada, one of the worst tracks on the grid for picking up warnings, getting those penalties, and for those drivers at the front tonight, I think that final corner, that final chicane is certainly a place where they might need to just take it that little bit more carefully.
Yeah, just as Levy Martins. I was going Belgium names, Mertens for some reason, but it's Martins. Yeah, let's see what he can do. Another, I think Martins is another new driver. I don't think it's someone we've seen before either.
I'm not too sure. I don't think we have actually. It's interesting. I race against Levy in Tier 4 of WOR, so it's pretty interesting to see that a driver from a tier like that is up here. It's a big step up. It's certainly, yeah, it's a huge step up from the tier he's used to. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do tonight. He is a quick driver, but you know, when you look at this grid, you think, wow. So I'm intrigued to see how he can do tonight. I hope that he can try and make an impact, because it's not an opportunity you get this often to try and race in a grid like this. But so far, it's not looking too great in a validation to his name. But still plenty of time left, so it's not panic stations just yet, I should say.
Definitely not. There's a medium set on the typical car in P11 currently, but a lot of these drivers yet to set lap time. A couple of cars going out on a set of intermediates to do an out lap and then come straight back in. Otis Lawrence being one of them. But GGYT Magician is on track, part of the Bunga Racing team. Let's see what he can do as he comes down this part of the track now and into a place where people will try and make an overtake. It's not a standard place into turn 8 and 9, but there's that DRS straight down there, which can give them a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, it certainly can. It's an interesting one, that DRS straight. It's not really a corner coming into the right left of it, so yeah, I've been intriguing one for the race to see how he gets on. But yeah, so far not been a bad lap from Magician so far. Now it's just this pretty infamous last 2 corners he needs to navigate, and yeah, I've been intrigued to see how he does it there. But it's full commit there. He was not holding much back there, and he's kept it valid, which is the main thing. So we will get our 3rd lap time of the session, and it is our fastest lap time of the session as well, a 1 minute 10.274 to the name of GGYT Magician. So yeah, not too bad stuff there from the McLaren driver.
Definitely not too bad at all. And let's go on board. Actually, let's go on board with his teammate Carsey as he's coming down the back straight now. He's on a lap as well. What can the McLaren driver do? Again, not holding much back as he goes through the wall of champion. Aiden goes into P2. And across the line for Carsey, it's P3 for them. But look how close P2 to 4 is. Very, very similar on lap times. But let's go back to Bartek Fraser, who is in the Alpha Tower as he comes down here. Crispy in the chat is saying, well, it's kind of, I was going to ask you this question, see what you thought of it, but good times around here. Q1 is they're looking at high 9s and low 10s. So this is going to be interesting to see, because at the moment they're low 10s, lowish 10s, and Otis Lawrence could throw himself into a massive mix here with a, you know, mid 109, and that would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it certainly would be. An interesting one I'm looking at the moment is Efere Joran in P4 at the moment, when there's only been 7 lap times set. That's certainly not something you'd like to see from an FRA driver, so he'll be looking to try and improve. And I think Otis Lawrence, as always, is a great benchmark to see where the pace is really at. He's been a pretty good lap so far, so it'll be intriguing to see what he can set. But that's another invalidation for the Mercedes. A mistake there, coming through one of the many chicanes on this track. And yeah, getting caught out once again is your champion of this tier, Andy. We're certainly looking forward to trying and getting a lap in here. 9 minutes left in the session, and Otis Lawrence is still not set a valid lap.
We don't get to say that very often, do we? And I wonder if he'll hold back and do another lap time on those tyres to really push it, because the style of driver that he is, he likes having fresh sets for each session. And you know, if he starts messing around in Q1, it could be problematic for those tyres.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I don't think he has to worry an awful lot about tyres. Normally gets through first time, but yes, another one for Otis Lawrence to try and worry about slightly. It's not ideal from him so far, but I'm sure he just needs to get a decent lap in, and that will be enough for him. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he can do. Bartek Fraser, I think, has now went second place as well at 10.3. So the name of the Alpha Tauri, so he'll be happy with that one. That certainly puts him in good stead for progressing to qualifying too.
Let's see what Harv can do across the line, and it's P9 for him. It's not as strong as his teammate who puts it into P5. Josh there. VSR Finn then, what can he do? Haven't seen him in a few weeks, I don't think, for the Legacy Division. So let's see if he can bring the fortunes around for the Ferrari and VSR and get some well-needed points. And actually, he's slowed down on his lap, so nothing for here. Sav goes quickest of all with a 110.9, and there goes Wilson. We were expecting Wilson. We know how quick Wilson can be.
Yeah, we certainly can. Another man we know how quick it can be is Otis Lawrence, coming to the end of his lap time now. It is still valid, and it is valid as well through the Wall of Champions that he goes. It's been a good lap from him so far, and this certainly could put him top of the timing board, and it does. A 9.6 from the Mercedes, and as we said, that puts him top of the timings so far.
What a cracking time from Otis Lawrence there, and that's on used tyres as well, so you could imagine it would have been a little bit quicker on the fresher set, but he wouldn't have minded at all. That is definitely him through. But PSR second and third at the moment. That's exactly what they need to do. Be there, be in the hunt. But here goes VSR Akos then coming down into the last chicane, through the Wall of Champions. Gets very close to that wall, but he's managed to come away scot-free and across the line, and Akos splits the two PSRs.
Oh, very interesting there from Akos, certainly in the mixer as the Ferrari, and that's good to see that he's got some pace around there, coming off of a pretty poor end to his WR Tier 2 season. He's a personal favourite of mine, but he didn't cover himself in too much glory to the end of that season. I think he ended up finishing around about 4th or 5th in the standings, so he'll be looking to try and bounce back with VSR and try and set a couple of good lap times when he can. and I'm just looking on board with VSR Finn at the moment, Akos, his teammate, and the other Ferrari. And let's see what he can try and do now. 8.4 seconds up now as he comes into the hairpin of turn 10. And he's now only got 2 proper corners left. That pretty infamous final chicane now to see if he can try and set a pretty good lap, because it's a 22 flat as the time he's set at the moment, nowhere near good enough. So you're probably looking at what, a 10.1, 10.2 to say that you're probably going to be safe into the next round. So let's see what he can do here. Coming through the final chicane, 5th gear there over the both curbs. He's done very well through there, avoiding that wall on the outside, which is pretty important. And he comes across the line now. What time it can be for the Ferrari? So 1 minute 10.1. That puts him P5.
And Shizu Piccolo into the pits. He's not. It's a 110 at the moment. That's a struggle for him. Egger Junior in 15th had just placed himself there. So we've got Typical and Leopard yet to set a lap time. Leopard is just about to start, but he has got an invalidation. I wonder if that was coming through the Wall of Champions chicane, but thankfully it hasn't invalidated the next lap for him anyway. And is that Typical just ahead? No, Typical's just starting his lap time now. So let's go stay on board with the Red Bull driver of Leopard and see what he can do. Shizu really need him to have a good race tonight.
Yeah, they certainly do. He's the main man, isn't he, for Shizu? So yeah, he'll be looking to try and set a good lap. But I think interestingly at the moment he's not on a lap. A 20.4 first sector's about a second off. And he's also not using any ERS. So Leopard actually, as much as he looks like he's pushing, isn't on a lap time at the moment. I'm not too sure what the reason for that one is, but he certainly put himself in a whole lot of pressure. So yeah, we're intrigued to see what Leopard can do now coming to the end of this session. And just looking on board now with Typical at the moment, the other driver not to set a lap time. Only 19 drivers in the session tonight. One of them as an FGE Halo with a qualifying ban, so there's not a hell of a lot of them getting knocked out in qualifying ones. This is a big chance for Typical to try and progress through to qualifying. So as he coming out the hairpin now, pretty tidy lap so far from the Haas driver. He'll be looking once again to try and at least get into those mid to low 1 minute 10s to see if he can try and get a chance of getting through as he's coming through the final corners of 13 and 14 now. It's 4th gear in contrast to the 5th, what we've seen from the majority of the grid, but it still worked out pretty nicely for the Haas. He comes across the line now. What time could it be? It's a 10.2. Very nice lap time there from Typical.
This is interesting. There's a fair few drivers then who are in trouble. Harv, Leopard, 2 of the bigger names, I think, and Piccolo as well. He's had some great lap times recently as well. So it's interesting to see that he's struggling so much in the legacy division, because he scored some great points over the last 2 rounds in Circuit of the Americas and Belgium. I think the race before that was round 10. So Shizu really need to hope that their drivers turn the screw a little bit in their final run, because we've only got 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, and those guys down the bottom are in a little bit of a world of pain. Extra pressure that not needed. I'm not sure if Leopard is going to continue on this lap or if he's going into the pits. I think he's going into the pits. He is. So that is Leopard. Like you mentioned, Leopard is putting himself on a fair whack of unnecessary pressure.
Yeah, he is, and I'm not too sure. I think they've soon got a pretty good angle of it as well. But coming out to turn 9 there, a huge moment from Leopard. I'm not too sure if he was just pushing on an in lap or if that was a lap that went a little bit wrong, because I think there was a bit of damage to the Red Bull, or at least a good clatter on the wall for good luck. So yeah, Leopard certainly needs to try and get the finger out now. He needs to try and progress. It was vital for any chance of Shizu getting a top 3. They have to, a top 3 in the constructors. They have to make every race count. Only 3 races left, including a sprint. So yeah, it's important for both drivers to progress, especially when you look at the 2 VSR guys at 4th and 6th. As VSR Joran goes P2, a very nice start there from the Mercedes driver, and that does make it an FRA 1-2.
Yeah, that's a good lap time. You mentioned earlier that it's a little bit worrying that an FRA driver was so far down. Well, we only had 7 drivers and he was 4th at the time, and it's a problem there. Carsey putting himself in P7. I think he could be safe. Typical's retired early. Could be a little bit of a worry for him, but I think he will be on the cusp of being safe. But everyone else is, I think, from P7 onwards is safe. Passy coming down the last straight before the Wall of Champion chicane, I'm going to call it, but he's invalidated. Passy's in trouble.
Yeah, he certainly is. It's such a shame as well. Right at the end of his lap, not too sure if the Aston Martin Levi that was in front of him, not too sure if that possibly put him off there, but yeah, I think he could be out at the moment. Unless he's got the ERS, he's got the fuel to go again. I think we could possibly see Passy out of qualifying.
It's not ideal for him at all. Who is on the next lap time? Joran is completing. He's done and dusted. It could very well be Aiden. Aiden only managing P11 at the moment through the last chicane. Not as... No, he must be setting himself up for another lap time because it's a 1:16 for him on that lap. So it must be the Shizou driver, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, the second driver of Piccolo coming through the first bit to set his last lap time. It's 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining of this session.
Oh wow, it's very much still all to play for. Two of the big guns looking like it possibly could be heading out. Piccolo a lot riding on this lap, something that isn't always a guaranteed to be going through in Q2. We've seen him a few times this season just slipping up at the moment, 200s up on his lap time. It's pretty minimal improvements from Piccolo, but an improvement is still an improvement. So yeah, he'll be looking to try and keep this up throughout the lap.
Yeah, he's pushing at the moment. It's clear to see Passey's retired. He's not going to be any quicker than that. He could be fortunate and get through, but when you've got the likes of Harvard, Leopard and Piccolo behind, ready and waiting, we're not 100% sure on Egger either. And Halo's obviously serving a qualifying ban, for those of you who didn't know, so it's not really that obvious. He's got to start from the back of the grid, but it's possible for him to get a the first challenge. It will be difficult for Halo, but he'll give it his best shot.
Yeah, certainly will, as Piccolo. There goes P9, so not too bad. I think that possibly could be him out of any sort of real danger. I'm just looking to see what Egger can do. Egger Jr. coming across name, what a name that is, and what a lap time that is as well. P6 for the harsh driver. He'll be pretty chuffed with that one. I think all eyes are now on the McLaren of, I think, is it Magician? No, it's not. It's his teammate Carshi who dives off into the pit lane. So it's now LCR Leopard, the big one. But he's invalidated his lap, and that is huge for the consequences of this qualifying, because that is LCR Leopard out of qualifying.
Wow. Leopard in massive trouble, and Shizou in massive trouble there as well. Magician is safe, but he's going to try set this final lap time to see where he can go. Harv puts himself P9. Magician across the line, P3 for the time being. And that is all she wrote, really. But big news out of that is this man, LCR Leopard, is out on Q1.
Wow, that's a huge one. Can't see I seen that one coming, and yeah, that is not what Shizou need at all. When you're fighting for something like PC in the standings, you need to be going to Q3, and getting knocked out in Q1 is just well below the standard. And yeah, especially from Leopard as well, we're not too used to seeing that one often. So yeah, it's a big race ahead for Leopard now.
His saving grace is that his race pace has always been that little bit stronger. I say that little bit stronger, a hell of a lot stronger than his qualifying. But I know how much he is going to be, I don't want to say upset with himself, but just fuming with himself that he's cost himself that little bit there. Apparently we're still going back. Okay, there we go. Just wondering what was taking so long on that front for it to end the qualifying one session for us. But we don't really want to know who's at the top, because we already know that. We could have guessed in, about 15 minutes ago, couldn't we? But Halo F1 dropping out because of the qualification ban. Leopard in 18th, 17th to Passy, and Martins also dropping out as well. They are the drivers that will not be taking part in the next session, which is qualifying 2. I mean, as we expected, mainly from what's happened there tonight.
Yeah, I think other than the Leopard one, it's all pretty plain sailing, but I think it's a pretty big bombshell when you've got the man sitting second or third in the standings out in Q1. So yeah, Leopard just let him sail down slightly, as like Shizou down a wee bit, but he'll make up for it, as we've seen so many times this year. Leopard, he's fantastic in the race, and from an entertainment point of view, I think it will make this race a little bit interesting as well when that comes along.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he handles the pressure, because that is a fair whack of pressure. But he always seems to deliver during the race. We won't talk about Singapore because that probably will hurt a little bit for him. I can't remember if you were there for that one, but
yeah, I was, unfortunately.
Guys are going back out on track, and let's see how that one. Let's see how Q2 is. The track's a little bit greyer, a little bit cloudier than it was before.
Yeah, it is. I'd love to see if that would make a difference, but doesn't normally tend to, as long as it's dry. You don't normally see a huge drop off in times or an increase in times. But Q2 is always a good one now. The drivers have got a feel for what the track's like. They know what to expect, and then 15 minutes as well. So still a pretty good chunk of time for these guys to go and set a lap time that they know they can do. So yeah, it should be a pretty interesting one.
So 2 McLarens, a Red Bull out on track at the moment. I think that's an Alpine as well coming out, but we will stay on board with Piccolo. I wonder how much pressure now he's feeling because of the fact that, you know, his, I suppose, superstar teammate, because out of all of that, I think, yeah, it is. Leopard is in third in the championship. So he's 4 points ahead of Pisty, 28 points ahead of Sav. So Leopard is doing a good job, and now he's, yeah, I know we keep on banging on about it, and Sav is probably, not Sav, sorry, Leopard is probably annoyed that we keep on banging on about it, but that is, you know, a problem for Shizou right now.
Yeah, it's huge. I think when you've got a point scorer like that, and when he's not delivering, I think you need someone else to step up, and it's now Piccolo's time to try and fill some big shoes. I think we've seen it back in Silverstone. I've mentioned it a few times this season. It was a great result from him. I think he got a podium. Then we've also came off back-to-back points finishes. I think it's back-to-back P6s that Piccolo has had. So the pace is certainly there. So yeah, I'm interested to see what he can do tonight, because now there's no Leopard in Q2. He certainly has to try and deliver to the plate.
And very much a commentator's curse on that, because he's invalidated. So has Magician. Kasi has not, though. I give it to Harv. I didn't know. Well, I didn't know he was a pad user, but that's a cracking lap time for someone on the pad, and just shows how good he is.
Yeah, Harv, he's a cracking driver. Ex Tier 3 champion a couple of seasons ago, and then yeah, he's certainly got the minerals to mix it out with these guys on his day. And when you go to a track like Canada, it's never easy on the controller. But yeah, to be in a grid like this and Q2 out qualifying Leopard, he's done a fantastic job so far. And yeah, it'll be intriguing to see how he managed to hold up in Q2 as well.
Yeah, let's see what Kasi can do. He's going to be the one to set the lap time first. It might very well be the first time Bunga Racing Team have had a driver that sits on the top step of the qualifying board for this season, and I'm sure they will be happy with that, even if it is only for a short period of time. A 110.248 for Kasi, and I'm sure he'll be happy with that one nonetheless. But there's a fair lot of invalidations happening at the moment. I wonder if Wilson is on a lap time, because everyone else seems to be invalidating.
Yeah, it does seem like that at the moment. PSR Wilson is one of them as well, who's also invalidated. So my eyes are now kind of immediately going to the two FR8 drivers, both of them still on the valid lap, which is pretty important for their qualifying sake. So we just stick him over Joe at the moment, but a big mistake there into the hairpin. I'm not too sure what that's all about, but that is definitely a couple of tenths there that he has lost just breaking that light for the corner. But now he has to try and get his focus back. 2 corners left in the lap, so something that's still there to salvage. So let's see what he can do now. Yeah, which is probably the 2 hardest corners on the track. It's 5th gear for the Mercedes E. It's a bit cautious through there, definitely not throwing it through the corners like we've seen from others throughout the qualifying sessions. But let's see what time it is anyway. The 10.7, a little bit off the pace to what we've seen, especially compared to his teammate Otis Lawrence, who sets a 9.5 and goes 6 tenths clear at the top of the timing.
Now, I wonder if that's a fresh set of tyres that Otis has done that on, because that is a cracking lap time. Let's see what ERL Bartak Fraser can do. He's invalidated. So can someone not invalidate for me? Akos, do me proud. Get back out round on track and do something wonderful for us in a Ferrari.
Yeah, it just shows you though, doesn't it, how hard this can be. I think it will make it pretty interesting in the race. I think penalties will, unfortunately, play a bit of an impact in terms of deciding positions. Just the way the track is, I think you see it places like Mexico as well. They're the two that kind of stick out to me. Mexico, Canada, maybe a few others, just really notoriously hard for trying to keep the penalties down, but sometimes it's just a little bit inevitable. So yeah, I've been trying to see how Akos does now. No lap time to his name this early on, so yeah, I've been trying to see what he could do.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on it. Harv is out on track as well. Let's see if he can make it through to Q1. 9 minutes left of Q2 remaining, and we are watching Akos come around the track at the moment. He's in sector 1, coming into another bit of chicane. It seems like Montreal is full of chicanes, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Seems like that, and I think that's kind of the tough nature of the track. But they're also different, the chicanes as well. It's not like it's a copy and paste everywhere you go. It's they're all very unique in their own right, and I think that just makes it pretty good racing and a pretty good track. Nonetheless, it's a very very short lap, 70 seconds, one of the shortest on the calendar. However, there's so much time to be won and lost. I think it's a great example when you go and drive on board with drivers like Akos, because you just see how much he's pushing, how much he's at that limit. Because you have to be at a track like this. You can't just go around at 80% because the time will reflect that. So you have to be fully committed. And so far, Akos has certainly done that.
Into the last chicane. Well, I say into the last chicane. He's coming into the last chicane now. Braking late. Let's see how much of that corner he cuts. He cuts an awful lot of it. And that's cost him big time. And it would have been a 1:09.9 if he hadn't have invalidated. Probably a little bit slower than that. Saab is on track through the last bit. Well, through the middle bit of the sector 2. Heading into the hairpin now. But he does have a car just ahead of him. That could be getting in his way. The Haas does get out of the way for him in the end, but into the hairpin, looking pretty tidy from half so far.
Yeah, his hairpin's a huge bit for his lap. When you're on the controller, it's a bit of a traction corner, and it sets up this straight perfectly. And this is probably the only bit of the track where he will have an advantage over the rest of the grid, so really has to make the most of it there. Now he's just got the last 2 corners to navigate, but you don't need to navigate it when you go into the pit lane and have not happy with that lap time and heads off into the pits.
Not ideal for him. Finn on board with. I think he's slowed right down. He was not happy with that either. This is what's going on with Finn. Okay, he was letting someone through. That's fine then. Josh Gilly coming through now into the hairpin. Let's see what he can do. He is on a lap time, so I'm sure he's going to be wanting to push, but he's got deep into the hairpin. It's not the ideal line to take through there.
No, it certainly isn't. And what I just said there about Harv is now working for the opposite for Josh, because it just is now he's losing a couple of tenths here and there on this straight just because of that exit. He's going deep, he sacrificed his exit, and then he just hemorrhaged time throughout the full straight there. A little bit deep as well into the final chicane, compromised his exit to come across the line now. But let's see what lap time it is for Alfa Romeo. It's at 1:10.7, and that does put him P6 as it stands.
Not ideal. Ego then, he's on a lap. Let's see what he can do in the Haas. His teammate also on our lap, so it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. Wilson back out on track. Sav did manage to put himself into P5 in the midst of all that. Bartek Fraser putting himself in P2 as well. But here comes Ego across the line for the Haas driver. It's P5. That's a very, very respectable time for the Haas man.
Yeah, it certainly is. It puts him in the mix up. Just about 6 minutes left now as well. So, yeah, I think this will be the majority of the second last runs for these guys, and everyone will probably bundle in at the pit lane and go out right at the end. I think typical F1 is who I'm looking at now. Let's see what he can do, the Haas driver. I think he did a pretty good result in Imola earlier on the season. Is one that stands out for me, so he'll be looking to try and see if he can replicate that here tonight through the final chicane. He went, looked pretty nice and tidy, if I do say so myself, and that is P7 for typical F1. He'll be pretty happy with that.
It's not bad at all. Let's see another quick driver in their time. It's PSR Wilson as he comes down in the Williams. VSR Finn has rejoined the session down the back straight, I suppose you can call it, into the last chicane for Wilson. Someone that's managed to be able to keep pace with Otis Lawrence at periods through the season. Piccolo, is that going P2? Great lap time from him, but PSR Wilson immediately takes that away and is incredibly close to Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, he has a great lap time there from Wilson. He'll be pretty happy with that one. That will probably put him safely through into qualifying 3 as well, so good stuff there from him. On contrast to the FRA guy, Otis Lawrence sitting nice inside the P1, but Joran P12 at the moment, 1:10.7. He's still got a little bit of work to do now with 5 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, Sab just going a little bit wide out of the final, well, into the Wall of Champions, nearly getting himself collected in the Wall of Champions. That would have been not useful for him. Carty going P7, I think there. So that's his lap time. Joran is on a lap. Joran is on a lap time. So he's going into the pits.
Oh, that's interesting. Certainly putting a lot of pressure and a lot of confidence in this final lap now. We've seen how easily it could go wrong with LCL Leopard just a couple of minutes ago in qualifying 1. So, yeah, Joran, he's got a lot riding on this final lap now. Currently sitting in P12, that would not be enough to see him through into the next round. So, yeah, Joe Rant, he certainly needs to try and pull the finger out for this final run.
So, who is your 5 drivers, do you think, that is going to drop out of Q2? I've never asked that question before, but I'm doing it tonight.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm liking that. It's slightly put me on the spot though. But I'm going to say Harv. Unfortunately, I just don't think the pace is there for him tonight. I'm also going to say Joran. I'm going to be slightly controversial. I will say typical Ega as well, and I think that's 4. So then I'll also put I'll say Finn as well. I'll also be getting knocked out. So a couple of controversial ones in there. That wasn't an order. That's just 5. I think that will roughly be getting knocked out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I couldn't even. I think we're going to have a surprise. Like we did with Leopard, just because they weren't able to get a lap time together or get something settled in stone. Chat, let us know as well who you think your top or bottom 5 will be. Definitely not the top 5. Wilson retiring. I think he's safe. I think Wilson's safe.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a country mile ahead of the rest of the grid. Him and Otis Lawrence are in Formula 0.5 at the moment. They're that far ahead. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how the rest of this grid can do now. And, yeah, I think you're right about the surprises. I think this track and the layout of the track is just built for shocks and qualifying. It's such a short track. There is such little time in it. But there's also, this means there's not a lot of margin for error. If you make a mistake, if you lose a couple of tenths, that's huge. And the consequence of a lap, if it's maybe a track like Kota or Spa, there's time to be won and lost all over the track. So losing 2 tenths isn't the end of the world. Where it is, yeah, it kind of can be the make it or breaking of your lap. So, yeah, certainly is teed up for a bit of a shock here as VSR Finn. A 10.5 up already, though. He is not looking to beat one of those shocks.
No, he's looking pretty strong at the moment. And, I mean, he did set a 124.6 the first time around, so maybe he likes having that added pressure on him through turns 8 and 9. He goes nice and tidy for the Ferrari man as he comes to the hairpin. How tight will this be? He's 11 seconds up this time around. That is probably where he went wrong last time. I think he did go just immediately off the pace. So, down this back straight. A little kink to the right-hand side, which is turn 12, down into turn 13 and into this chicane, which has caught so many people out in Q2 already. It's looking good for him. Not close enough to the Wall of Champions that others have been, but I think he's going to be safe. It's a 109.9 and into P5 for now.
Yeah, certainly a good lap there. Harv as well, and 1 minute 10 flat. He goes P7. He'll be pretty chuffed with how that lap ended up turning out. I'm just trying to see anyone else coming across the line. Is that Ega coming across the line? I think he's coming across the line to start a lap. So I'm just trying to see what he can try and do. But I'm just looking at the FRA driver of FRA, Joran. Now, a lot of pressure riding on him. Currently P14. He's out of qualifying as it stands, but he can avenge himself here through the Wall of Champions. He goes for possibly the final time in this qualifying session. But let's see what time it is. A car across the line now. Where can he go? And it's only P8 for the FRA driver. That might not be enough.
Not with the other drivers that are on a lap time as well. Sav being one of them. That's the major one, is Sav. But Typical's looked quick so far. So has Ega. Those two have looked pretty good at the end of their qualifying sessions respectively. But look, I didn't even notice it. Aiden and Bartak, exactly the same lap time.
Very nice from both of them and very good lap times as well. I think Nate, 3rd and 4th from the two of them, they'll be very happy about that one. Typical F1, he's invalidated his lap, so he's out of qualifying session. But it's PSR travelling, all eyes are on the Williams driver. Coming at the final corner they goes now. Let's see what lap time he can say as he comes across line. And it is P3. Very good lap time there from the Williams.
I think Akos is just coming over the line as well. Had he invalidated? Because that looked like it was a set lap time. I might have been wrong. Who else could be on a lap time? Ega coming across. He's got at least one McLaren behind him as well. The Haas driver across the line. He was massively up on his lap time. So Carsey, what can he do across the line? Surely he's going to set a lap time for him. No, he's slower.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of guys maybe just starting laps now. By the looks of things, I think Carsey I think possibly Akos to do with two, and Niga. I think both of these guys were starting laps, maybe backed off during their main lap, but they're certainly we are looking to go again. But I think one is definitely out is typical F1. Unfortunately for him, he will not improve on the lap time he is set. He is into the pit lane, and he is our first confirmed driver out of qualifying.
Not ideal for Typical. Such a shame. He looked like he had the pace underneath, but it just wasn't to be in the end. I think Sav going into the pits this time around. I'm pretty certain he's safe. Akos, though, across the line for his last time in Q2, and it's going to be safe. It's surely safe. It's P6 for him. Who's next? It's got to be one of the McLarens. Which one is it? Is it Magician? It is Magician coming down the start-finish straight. He's currently P12. FRA is out. He's P3. That's a cracking lap time.
Yeah, it certainly is. Unfortunately for Harvard, that does mean he is out. Yeah, he can't improve. He is out now. It's just Carsey. He comes across line. Can he make two McLaren in the top 10? And he certainly can. He goes P7.
So who is on a lap time that could do anything? Aiden's staying out. I think that's it. I think that is it, isn't it? So it's Josh, Harv, Joran, Egger, and Typical that are out.
Yes, very interesting qualifying, and I think Joran is possibly a shock upset there. As much as we're not seeing an awful lot of him, as a great first lap he set in Q1, and he's slower in Q2, and unfortunately for him, that does mean he is out for FRA. So again, not the standard FRA would expect, and just like Leopard, he's got a lot of making up to do within this race.
I don't think you were too far wrong with your predictions. I think Josh was the only one that you got wrong.
Yeah, I think you might be right actually. So yeah, should ask that question more often then maybe.
So for those of you who did get knocked out of that, Callum wasn't jinxing you or anything. He hasn't got some sort of voodoo doll which puts people out of qualifying through this. But let's have a quick look at that and just remind you the five drivers that are out. That's Josh, Harv, Joran, Egger, and Typical F1 with the top 10 fighting it out in Q3. Otis, Wilson, Magician, Sav, Bartak, Aiden, Carsey, Akos, Finn, and Piccolo. Even with that good lap time from Piccolo, he was nearly out.
Yeah, he was. It was intriguing to see, and it just shows you how tight those times are. But Piccolo, he'll be happy nonetheless. A Q3 appearance. There's not been an awful lot of them for Piccolo this season. There has certainly been a few, but yeah, it'll be to see for him as well. It's good for Shizu as well. They've still got a bit of representation in that top 10.
Now, for those of you who know these guys pretty well, I would say who you think is going to get pole position here tonight for Canada from Q3. I think everyone, I'm 99% certain who I know most people are going to pick, but there's always that 1%, and F1 usually has something to say about it, and especially in the Legacy division, there's always something special about it.
Yes, there is. I'm intriguing to see how the qualifying session goes. We all know who the favourite is. We all know who might just get it, but we've seen in qualifying one, there is a couple of flaws to Lewis Lawrence, a few invalidations here and there, as you never know in Q3. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this one goes. And yeah, I'll be hoping for possibly an upset here in this final session.
Who are you gonna? Are you thinking who I'm thinking for fun?
I would imagine so. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. I think it's an AlphaTauri that's going to be the first driver that goes out, and we'll go on board now, or we'll change the screen over to go on board with these guys as they set the first lap time. So there's only 12 minutes of Q3, and these guys are going to want to get at least 2 laps in. I wonder if there's going to be one run on a used set of softs and a run on a fresh set. I think that's probably the usual way for these guys.
Yeah, I think Wilson and Lawrence are the two that might have 2 fresh sets. Possibly, I'm not too sure. I can't completely remember, but I think sometimes you do have guys that have 2 fresh sets. Sometimes I think we've even seen it with Lawrence do 3 runs in qualifying. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see if we have anyone else hanging out a bit later. That's normally a thing we see in qualifying, someone that goes maybe in the middle of the session. But I think actually, yeah, Aiden, he's our man this week, so he's going to stay a little bit longer. He'll wait till all the lap times are done, and then he'll go out and get all the glory himself a little bit.
So Magician is going to be, well, Bartak was the first one, but Magician overtook him on an outlap in, so Magician wants the first lap honours in the McLaren. Let's see what he can do then. He's a pretty solid driver. Actually, I say pretty solid. He's a very solid driver. I think Bunga, however, got a very good driver in him, and I'm sure he's going to continue to impress people throughout the seasons, throughout the coming seasons. He just needs a little bit of luck on his side.
Yeah, I think I do agree with that one. I think as much as it sounds silly, luck's a huge part in the racing. And sometimes for a few of these guys, you just need a little bit of luck to go your way, and then you might just start to see that everything comes to you a little bit. There is Magician. That's a sprint for the McLaren, and that is certainly not the luck that he was looking for.
Definitely not. And somehow I seem to be able to curse anyone I really want. Anyone I want at any point, it looks like. But Bartek Fraser then is the next driver to set a lap time. He will be getting the honours at the moment of setting the first lap time of Q3. He does have Piccolo behind him as well. Piccolo's looks like he's run through the field a little bit. Carsey is going to be the next car. But the EOL driver, the first driver to set a lap time in Q3, and it's going to be a 109.6. Pretty solid lap time there, considering Piccolo behind is a 110.3. And Carsey might very well have invalidated. No, yeah, but Carsey's invalidated. So pressure on these guys already. Here comes Otis Loris down across the line. Is it going to be a low 109? It's a 109.3. He is incredible.
Yes, very lapped in it from Otis Lawrence. I wouldn't expect anything less from him now. VSR fan coming through the final chicane now. Let's see what he can do. A lot of a wiggle there for good luck as they come down the final corner. Let's see what lap time he sets. It's a 1 minute 9.8, not too bad. And then there VSR across his teammate. He sets a 9.9 as well. But at the moment, it's a Ferrari second row lockout.
That is exactly what they need. VSR need this, especially with Piccolo not being able to do too much. But PSR Wilson across the line. It's a 120 for PSR Wilson. What has gone on there?
I'm not too sure. I think he maybe backed off in that lap by the looks of things. It looks like he is going again by the way that he's driving, so possibly made a mistake in there. But yeah, certainly not the time I was expecting to see pop up on my screen. But yeah, by the looks of things, he is going again. But unfortunately for him, he has a 10th down on that initial first lap he set.
We'll have to wait and see how it will go for Wilson. We expect big things from him because he's generally very, very quick driver. One of the best on the platforms, on the export platform as a whole. And he's given us some great racing throughout, but he's got the two Ferraris possibly in the way. And there's his teammate there as well. I think that's Sav finishing his lap time, who managed to split the two Ferraris. But it's all about Wilson at the moment. Aiden is just going out on a lap now. Magician is into the pits. So Carsey did go again, but a 110 for him. And clipping as much of the curb as possible is Wilson to try and get as much time into it as possible. And it's 109.5 is very, very respectable lap time.
Yeah, it certainly is. I must say though, I'm missing something. Maybe it's banned, but I'm surprised I didn't see any slipstream there from his teammate Sav. I thought it was maybe a perfect opportunity, maybe a 10th or even half a 10th to be gained there, but that could have a pretty big advantage. But maybe it's banned, maybe I've missed something. But I just thought that would have been a pretty good opportunity to do it there for the two Williams guys.
Now I know it is in the usual setup of WR, so it might be transferred over into this as well. But you're quite right. If it wasn't, PSR definitely missing a trick there, because Wilson could have jumped Otis Lawrence, possibly. But Aiden on the attack then down this slightly curved part of the track between 7 to 8 into 8 and into 9. This is where we saw Magician lose it a few minutes ago, and Aiden able to do it perfectly that time around.
Yeah, he certainly was. It's a bit more tidier from him so far, and that is certainly what you do need from him. He'll be looking to at least try and get maybe a top 7, top 8. I think he'd be happy with that one. I think ET would be happy with that as well. Only 13 points to the name of Euro Titans Esports this season. Not a hell of a lot going for them, but a Q3 appearance is certainly something to shout about. Let's see what Aiden can do here. Didn't get this opportunity much. Let's see what he does now. Coming across line, and it is P4 for the Alpine. What a lap time that is there from Aiden.
Very, very solid lap time by the ETE driver, and they will be shouting about that indeed. Reminiscent of when Grosjean scored those points for Haas all those seasons ago at Bahrain, and shouting, "This is a win for us." ETE probably something very similar there.
Yeah, I think you could be right. You know, it's a tough one for ETE. They've been in from the start of the season. They qualified with their own right. They've not came in through other teams dropping out. They were one of the top 10 quickest teams. They picked up their first points in the second round in Abu Dhabi. They picked up 2 more points after that in Bahrain. Then, other than that, they've only scored 8 points since then, and they're currently on 13 points. A hell of a lot later. So yeah, it's a tough one for the Euro Titans eSport lot. They'd have been looking to maybe get a little bit more this season. They're not playing for anything now, but yeah, a result like this, as you said, is certainly going to be treated like a win.
And into the pits for him. So Magician is going to be the first of the last runners to go for it. Let's see what he can do, because there is a lot of pressure on him now. The only driver to set a lap time. I won't say a competitive lap time, because Piccolo's time is a lot slower than it was from Q2. So a few more drivers coming through. The good thing about this track is that you never... I mean, it's a bit late now in Q3, but in Q1 it's very rare to get tripping over other drivers. While it's a short track, it's quite clear as well.
Yeah, actually, it's not something we've seen too much of tonight. Drivers getting in the way, so that's always nice to see. And yeah, it's an interesting point that is for such a short track. It's not something you really associate with Canada, but yeah, that's certainly not something that we're complaining about. So yeah, as you mentioned, Magician, the first one on the laps of the last few runs. There's no lap time to the name of Magician though, so he'll be looking to try and set a good lap time here in his final run. I know that he's got the capabilities of a top 5 result here, so yeah, it'll be good to see if he can try and produce that on this final run now.
Yeah, time will definitely tell on that front for him, and well, Bunga need as many points as possible. They're still on the same amount of points as WOR, who had left at round 2 or at the end of round 2. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can. All it takes is just 1 point tonight, and it will do the world of good. His teammate getting out of his way, and into turn 8 comes Magician on this time. And let's see if he can take the hairpin of ease and take turn 9, which he struggled with on his first run. Seemingly going okay for Magician at the moment.
Yeah, as it seems to be a pretty good lap from him, it's still valid, and that is pretty much the most important thing right now at the moment. He'll be looking to at least get maybe a 0.7, 0.6, considering what he done in that last session. So a lot riding on it. He's got high hopes, but he's only set the bar himself. PSR Sav's out the session. That doesn't look to be by deliberate, though. That possibly could be an accident there for him. But Magician and validating at the final corner. So unfortunately for Magician, there will be no improvement.
I've got to go on board with Aiden and see if I can see a Stricken Williams. I can see a Stricken Williams, and that is not ideal, because Sav is in P6 and likely to drop to possibly P8 out of all this with the way some of the other drivers are going at the moment. Is Kasi on a lap time? He is. Magician is going to be frustrated with himself there. He's got to do this lap to rebuild his ERS, and then he's got to go again. That's going to be tough for that. I think, is Otis on a scrub set of softs for his final run? It looks like it is. That's going to be interesting to see how he can run this. And Piccolo's just about to start his lap time. So it's PSR Wilson, I think, going to set a lap time. He's 2/10 up. He could very well be Otis Lawrence to pole position as things stands. He's hopped over, but he's clipped the wall.
Yeah, he certainly has. That's not the best way you want to do it, but he comes across line now anyway. And it's just not enough, is it, for the Williams driver? He leaves the wiggle, he wiggles the wheel in frustration, I should say there. At 1 minute 9.4. It's just not enough for that pole position.
Let's see what Kasi can do. He's 2/10 up on his lap time. Can he do enough to displace PSR Sav? You know what, he can. He's thrown him into P5 out of all that as well. VSR Finn's invalidated, so he's got to go this time around. And I think he's invalidated again. Otis Lawrence coming across the line. He was up on his lap time. He's gone even quicker. It's a 1:09.1.
Oh wow, that's as ridiculous. That is oh, yeah, I'm virtually speechless for that one. Some incredible stuff once again from Otis Lawrence. 3 tenths clear of the field, just a league of his own. Once again, it's ETA, and I'm just looking, he's on the lap. Let's see what he can do. He's a 10th up as well. So that's great qualifying session for ETE. Possibly could be getting even better.
Piccolo is just about to cross the line. He's one that really needs a little bit of luck on his side right now. And across the line, it's a 109.8. It's only enough for P8 for him, not enough to displace PSR Sav. But look how close it was to displacing the Williams driver and the PSR driver. That is incredibly close. But let's go on board with Aiden as he crosses the line. Is it going to be enough? It's not. He was slower in the end, but enough to keep a hold of P4. Is anyone else on a lap time? I think Magician possibly on a lap time.
Yeah, it looks like he possibly is. A 41.5 of a set to 2 split now. Going through the hairpin, he goes no lap time to his name this session. So anything he does set as an improvement. 9.8 is what Akos set. He's in P9, but Akos is also on his lap himself. The bottom two of this session. I've still got a possible chance to improve, but Akos, he dives off into the pit lane now. So everything like race on Magician, but I'm pretty sure by the end of that engine, he has run out of fuel. And yes, he has Magician. He limps to the end of this qualifying session, and unfortunately for him, that will be a P10 start.
That is crazy. 113, but you know how slow that was going? I reckon he could have been in that top 5. It sound well before the lack of fuel. It sounded a pretty good lap time. Otis Lawrence then, absolutely, we say it week in, week out, on top of the world.
Yeah, he's ridiculous, isn't he? When he kind of looked at that Wilson lap, I thought, oh, there's a chance here. We might see someone else on pole. And then Wilson didn't even manage to beat Lawrence's banker. And then Lawrence goes out and goes 3 tenths clear. So, yeah, sick of saying it, but once again, Otis Lawrence in a league of his own, it's just something pretty incredible to see. And in terms of Magician's last lap, I'm trying to see how good it was, but I'm not too sure. I think 22. I'm not too sure how good that lap time was, but it certainly is a shame anyway for the McLaren. He was showing some pretty promising pace, but yeah, unfortunately for him, he'll have to settle for P10.
ERL Bartak then, possibly the one that really stands out, but it's Otis, Wilson, Bartak, Fraser, Aiden, Carsey, Finn, Sav, Piccolo, Akos and Magician as your top 10 for the Canadian Grand Prix here in the Legacy division. I say Bartak being the one that stands out, but Aiden really does stand out. That's a cracking lap time from the ETE driver. And, long may it continue. May he take this into the race. And if there's an issue at the front with the top 2, let's, maybe we can dream that he can win a race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'd be dreaming as well. And for something like that to happen, but I'm certainly all for something like that. It would be certainly some sort of fairy tale. And I think it's 35 laps round here. I have seen some pretty ridiculous things happen. So, yeah, it should be a pretty good race overall as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this one for certain. And you know what? Looking back, I think Canada in the Tier 1, anyway, we did see Otis Lawrence win. But I think, if I remember rightly, we had someone like PSR Fern, so a shock person to land on the podium in second place, really pushed it to Otis Lawrence. And, that just shows, I think that shows that this track can produce something that's a little bit special, and it's not all written. There's something different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think safety cars as well are always a bit of a possibility. You've seen it in qualifying, Sav retiring from the session. The walls are so close. It is a street track. You need to remember as well. So it's very easy for safety cars to come out. Another thing I remember from that Tier 1 race as well is McCabe Sam running out of fuel before the end of the race. So yeah, all the drivers will looking to learn from his mistakes as well.
Oh yeah. The things you forget. Yeah, so let's see how it will all pan down. We are waiting for the drivers to get themselves ready. I'll ask early this time. Callum, who do you think is going to win this race?
I'll give you my top 3 to the more interest. I think Otis Lawrence is going to win the race tonight, and I think importantly as well, you need to remember that will mean FRA do wrap up your championship. For anyone that doesn't know, PSR have to outscore FRA by, I think it's 15 points tonight. for them to keep the championship going. So Brazil, if they fail to do that, and FRA are your constructors champions in world. So it's a big thing to remember. But I do think Otis Lawrence will win tonight. I do think Wilson will remain in second. I think there's some tremendous pace in that Williams, and I think he will certainly give Otis a run for his money. And then I'm going to be a bit bold here, and I'm going to say Elsia Leopard from P18 on the grid. He will get that final podium spot.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That is a very, very bold statement there. Guys in the chat, let us know what you think, whether you think that Otis Lawrence is going to walk away with this one, or you think Wilson's going to have the chance, or maybe you think there is going to be some sort of incident at the front and, you know, LCR Leopard go from 18th to first. Maybe that's a possibility. Or maybe we get an FGE Halo first to last challenge complete, or even a podium. That would do False Group Esports a world of good when they're trying to battle away with Velox Esports, even though they're not here anymore. And keep ahead of the Haas drivers, because the Haas team, even though they don't have Matthew this week, both drivers look pretty solid and pretty competitive.
Yeah, they do. I'm surprised though that we don't have Matthew, and you've got one of the best drivers on Xbox in your roster. You would expect to see him in every week. Maybe he just can't make it though. Maybe that is the reason. But yeah, the two Haas guys, they do look solid, but they will need to improve on their starting position if they do want to see any points go their way tonight. But yeah, around here, anything can certainly happen.
Final words with 15 seconds to go, Callum, before we start this race.
I think this could be pretty chaotic. I think keep an eye out on penalties as well. That always does play a part around here. But for the most part, I think this could be a pretty special race.
Now, we are going to be getting underway very, very shortly for the Canadian Grand Prix in the Legacy division of WOR. We're on 2, 3, 4, 5 or 8 lights at Melbourne. No, not Melbourne, Montreal. And away we go. It's a pretty good start for Otis Lawrence, as per usual. Bartak is possibly struggling a little bit, and the McLaren of Carsey definitely under pressure from VSR Finn. Shizu of Piccolo doing well, and there's a little bit of a gaggle as they come through turn 2 here. It looks like a pretty decent start continuing for Aiden, but Piccolo is managed to get the position. Stay ahead of Akos. For the time being, and that's exactly what the Shizu team need, but they need him to get in front of VSR Finn at the moment. Just down below, Typical has dropped off down 2 places at the moment, and Edgar and Joran battling away as well.
Yeah, pretty simple start from the majority of the grid. Not too much jostling for positions as well. Everyone starting to find their own bit away into the race, but a bit of contact there from Magician. Magician is round, Akos is round as well. And you talk about a commentator's car, because I think that is 3, possibly 4 cars around. The 2 Haas guys are gone. They've got an ERL driver at the back of the grid as well. Akos has gone, Magician has gone. FGA Halo as well has been caught up in it. It's absolute chaos at the rear end of the field.
Wow, I caught most of that, but that is incredible. And the 2 Alfa Romeos of Josh and Harv into the points. Shizu. Piccolo managing to stay behind Sav, but Finn and Carsey swapping position, and that is crucial for VSR, because our Leopard is getting a bit higher up. Akos getting past Halo, and Wilson and Otis Lawrence pulling away a little bit at the front.
Yeah, Wilson not done a great job so far staying within that range of Otis Lawrence. 4 tenths is the gap between the two of them, so he's certainly in the mixer to try and stay within that Mercedes rear bumper. Unfortunately, Magician has retired from the session. Hale's into the pit lane as well. He has got a wing change, unfortunately, for that Aston Martin, so his session certainly took a little bit of a dampener, but 35 laps to go. There's certainly still a lot of time to improve.
Definitely is. Let's see what tyres. Everyone apart from Levy is on the hard compound tyres, and it looks like Halo might have been the cause of that from the sounds of things, and that's unfortunate for that. But the Alpha's struggling at the moment to keep up with Piccolo in P8, which could cause a second train.
Yeah, I think he could be right, and that is always pretty bad news for the guys like Leopard or Joran, or anyone else that's looking to try and get a top 5 or top 6 finish tonight, because it's a pretty tough track to try and get back in. DRS is not as bad as some other tracks, maybe like Silverstone or Monza, for example, but it's certainly still very important. Just like any other track, and just looking PSR Sav making a move now for P7 down the inside of Carsey. He goes, and that is a position gain there. After P6 goes the Williams.
Yeah, Carsey definitely struggling. Maybe he had just the overall 1 lap pace. Maybe that's why it's so good for him, and he's under pressure already from Piccolo, I think. Josh is catching, though. 3-second time penalty to Joran. He's struggling a little bit for FRA right now. He's P12, but Wilson and Lawrence have broken away from the rest of the grid.
Yeah, they certainly have. I think Wilson at the moment is it's just about staying within the gap of Otis Lawrence, but it's not an awful lot in it between the two of them. But Wilson, he's used a lot of VRS as well. Remember, 50% to the name. Bartek Fraz as well, he's hanging on for dear life, but it looks like he's lost DRS. So that is a big loss and a big poor payout for him. So now Aiden, he'll be looking to try and capitalise, as now this front two will probably gallivant off into the sunset.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the chat as well. I think there's a little bit of controversy that we've had at the start of this race. Might not have been all Halo, it might have been a mixture of Magician and Akos. Akos possibly has some rear wing damage. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that, but that could explain a few things that has gone on, and a lot of problems for a lot of these guys. Car seat still being under pressure from the Shizou driver below. Sav attacking VSR Finn, but VSR need as many points as possible, and Leopard is into P14 trying to find a way past the FRA driver of Jura.
Yeah, it's not been bad for Leopard. He's avoided the chaos, which I think is probably the most important thing for him, considering how that lap one did play out in the end. So he's still alive, and I think that'll be probably to the relief for some of the guys like Shizou, but still 30 laps to go, a lot to play for, but a lot of positions as well to be made up for Leopard if he wants to try and get into some real serious point scoring positions.
Yeah, he needs something, doesn't he? And at the moment he's stuck there. He's trying to find a way past Joran, actually. So it'll be interesting to see what, from this point of view, how it happens and whether he can get past the FRA driver, because he's being held up by Passy as well. Martins at the moment, Levy Martins at the moment is doing a good job of, I know he's on the softer compound tyre, but maybe it's what he needs just to stick around and be a nuisance to some of these people at the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe he understands that the pace isn't there tonight, so he's just going to try and go for a different strategy, maybe see if there's a little bit of luck to go his way, and that's what he's going for. And this one that says 10 out of 10 for effort, he needs to just make sure he keeps the penalties low, and if luck does go his way, then possibly he could be on for a pretty good result for the Aston Martin team.
Time will tell. Lap 5 of 35 here at Canada, not Melbourne like I said earlier, and it'll be interesting to see how this one will pan down, because at the moment we do have this little bit of a, well, it's two snakes and the two leaders running off in the distance with various different battles going on. Passy and Joran have caught back up with the battle for P9, which isn't helping Leopard's charge.
No, it certainly isn't. It just makes things even harder for him. So yeah, it's always a pretty tough thing when you're doing something from the back of the grid, things like that happening. Just looking out front as well, Wilson is very, very impressive. As much as Otis Lawrence is just set fastest lap of the race, PSR Wilson's keeping him honest. He's certainly is in the mixer to keep this race going. They both get very similar ERS, and then yeah, the Williams of PSR Wilson is not looking like any pushover this race.
Definitely not. Otis Lawrence getting a 3-second time penalty. That's how hard PSR Wilson is pushing him, and that's how solid PSR Wilson is. So Wilson is doing a fantastic job here tonight and could very well take the victory. But he's outside of the DRS now of Otis Lawrence, and this could be problems for the rest of the grid.
Yeah, it possibly could be. He did get the DRS, so I think he was within 2 at the point of the DRS detection, and he is in once again for this point. He is using a lot, though, down to 25%. So PSR Wilson, he is giving it his absolute all. But yeah, once again, another early penalty from Otis Lawrence. It's something I've strangely seen quite a few times, not an awful lot, but definitely a couple of times. I think it happened last week at the USC. I remember that happened at Bahrain earlier on in the season. And yeah, it's pretty odd to see that it happen this early on, but yeah, every time that he's had the penalty, he has won. But yeah, I think that's possible. It could be different tonight because PSR Wilson so far is keeping them very honest.
Very honest indeed. And Bartak is doing a cracking job. There's Wilson setting the fastest lap of the race, just to echo exactly what we're saying. But yeah, ERL, ETE, two teams that we haven't seen many points for this season, sitting 3rd and 4th. It's great to see. It's great to see something like a different team getting some recognition here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's came from absolutely nowhere as well. Sometimes you might see drivers slowly improve over the season, but no disrespect to Bartek Fraz, this just came out of nowhere. It's ERL, and anyone that's been driving for ERL this year have been lurking near the back of the grid. Unfortunately, have not really had the pace, but tonight they're certainly on one, and they're certainly looking to try and get some sort of good result. But you're going to have to work for it, though. There's some very good drivers behind him. Aiden, he's looking good as well for ET, but then you've got Finn and Sav behind him, the two big boys from big teams. They'll be looking to really try and get a move on. And as you see here with Finn, he's all over the back of that Alpine, and I think there possibly could be a move lurking within the next few laps.
Look like Bartek there having a little bit of a wobble as they come through turn 11. Aiden gets close, but I don't think it's going to be close enough. Sav having a go at Finn as well. Carsey nearly dropping out of this battle, and Piccolo will not be wanting to see that.
No, he won't. That is not ideal for Piccolo. Just looking up from him as well, Otis Lawrence now, he has dropped Wilson out with that DRS zone. Both of them have given absolutely everything. There's not much ERS left, and I think as well from a personal point of view, really been pushing each other there. But Otis Lawrence 1.3 seconds, and that is what he needs now to try and build on that gap and try and get to that 3-second range.
Yeah, this is... Bartek's managed to pull a little bit of a gap, which has allowed Finn to start attacking Aiden. I mean, at what point if you're Finn and Sav, do you start thinking, I don't want to say throwing it up the inside, but start thinking you have to be a little bit more elbows out?
Yeah, I'm not too sure if there's an exact point, but I think they will start to get more and more impatient as the race wears on, because it's frustrating when you just can't overtake and you know you're faster. But I think maybe more Sav than Finn. I think Sav looks the quickest out of this group at the moment, but he just isn't getting close enough to Finn. And when he does Finn, he's always getting that DRS. But I do say that PSR Sav is very close to Finn this time around, but Finn is still going to defend to the inside. Sav forcing to go around the outside, but maybe just got a bit too much straight line speed for the Ferrari. And as they come into the final chicane, it is that Williams who is ahead and up into P5.
Yeah, I think, though, I was going to say, I think Finn was going to automatically fight straight back, but it didn't happen in the end for Finn. The straight line speed of Sav, like you said, was incredible, and possibly the faster of the two drivers at the moment. Let's see what Sav can do, and how quickly he can dispatch these cars ahead, and whether when Sav does it, Finn goes, so that's how you overtake someone, and follow suit.
Yeah, that possibly could be it. And I think as well, though, Finn could just be trying to follow him through if he can stay close to Sav. Sav makes a lunge up the inside, Finn can be there to pick up the pieces, so it's not the end of the world for Finn losing that position. Just looking further back, Levi Martin's on that medium company tyre, starting to struggle a little bit now. 10% ERS to his name, starting to push a little bit now to try and stay with the hard runners around him. Elsewhere, Leopard and P13, though, he's a little bit stagnant throughout these last few laps, and he's just seeming to struggle to make any sort of real progress.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like you mentioned, it's the problem starting on those mediums. It's a little bit more of a struggle. 1.8 seconds lead between Otis and Wilson, and if you aren't aware, FRA have to be beaten by 15 points to PSR if they are not to be crowned the champions tonight. I know I did that the real long way around. Basically, PSR need to beat FRA by 15 points tonight, and it's currently not being that way.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I'm not too sure if anyone's seen the tweet midweek by Otis Lawrence himself. As a picture of the driver standings and the constructor standings, and he highlighted the point that Otis Lawrence, if he was a team himself, there was no FRA, he would have more points than PSR. And himself this season, he's scored more points than PSR. So it's an interesting one that shows you the dominance of him. And yeah, it was a pretty interesting one. It certainly got a few nibbles here and there. And yeah, but it just shows you, I thought it was an interesting one, an interesting fact, I should say, to point out.
Leopard has finally got past Joram for P13, so he's now massively in the battle for P10, because Josh is in a bit of no man's land right now. We are on board with Sav as he's trying to find a way past ETE to Aiden, who is trying to find a way past the AlphaTauri of Bartek, and as I look up the inside before the last chicane, and there was just not enough straight there for him to do it on that occasion. But Aiden's looking very, very racy. He's going to try, surely not, into turn one. He's gone up the inside a little bit just to remind the AlphaTauri that he's there.
Yeah, it's a strange one from Aiden. It wasn't fully committed, was it? It was just kind of, he broke offline and never really broke later. He just kind of put himself offline a little bit. But it did seem slightly to spook Bartek Fraz, but nowhere near enough to try and make him position now. So yeah, Aiden, he is looking racy, but so is Sav behind. So I think fireworks for this position is only a couple moments away.
Yeah, this is all heating up here. They are 5.5 seconds behind Wilson, who is losing time hand over foot to Otis Lawrence. Otis Lawrence has decided to turn the screw and get quicker and quicker and quicker, just like we expect, and I wonder how far it goes. Sav swerving a little bit in the mirrors of the Alpine ahead of him. He's looking racy in himself as well, and I think this time around, I think he's got the straight line speed, and it could very well be done and dusted for Adrian for his P4 ventures, and that is a cracking move from Sav, and he nearly has enough speed to really attack Bartak out of that as well.
Yeah, I thought we were going to maybe see a 2-1 or even maybe a 2-2. But yeah, he just didn't have straight the exit he needed there at that final corner. But PSR Sav, I have no doubt he's going to get by Fraz anytime soon now. Sav, he's really got the pace, he's really got the straight line speed as well. I think is the most important thing. That's twice now. You've just seen how quick he is on the straight. So yeah, I don't think Bartek Fraz will be able to do an awful lot to try and keep that Williams behind.
Yeah, it won't take long. I mean, pit stops here, you're looking at about, I want to say lap 20, aren't you, really, for the hards? And, I mean, there's always that worry about a safety car, though. I know we've lost one driver. We've got 19 now. I think ERL Farfo joined late, and he is, unfortunately, a little bit off the pace at the moment. But, yeah, safety car can always mix things up, and that's why starting on the hards on this circuit isn't always the best possibility.
Oh, just look at ET8, he's been hit round. I think that's maybe by Finn. That is just not what you would have wanted for ETE. It was like a dream race for them so far. He was running the highest they've ever been all season. And unfortunately for him, he's found himself now down at the bottom end of the points, down in P9. And yeah, you really have to feel for them there.
Oh, I did not see that at all. I think I saw the gap where his car was, but not what we wanted to see to ETE Aiden, and that is gutting for him. But Sav has got past the ERL driver of Bartak, and PSR Sav then into P3, but he's got a 6.4 second gap to his teammate ahead.
Yeah, I think they'll now just be looking to try and just, in the Sav's point of view, just try and get into no man's land in a sense. If he's breaking that DRS to Bartek Fraz, which he's nearly done already, then I think he can try and run a pretty quiet race, and I think Sav would be happy with that. He's also got a 3-second time penalty as well, remember. So yeah, that's another thing that possibly could hinder him near the end of this race.
So lap 13 of 35, Otis Lawrence is the leader of this Grand Prix. Egger picking up a 3-second time penalty with Sav in second and Sav in third. Both Otis and Sav on 3-second time penalties. I think Kasi making a little bit of a mistake at the hairpin right now, and not ideal for him, but it's not cost him anything. Josh is caught back up to the end of Piccolo, well, back into the DRS just about. It's a little bit neither here nor there. ETE Aiden, after his incident, is caught in a little bit of a battle now with Harv. Bartak getting passed by Finn as well. We've missed that one. Finn's still battling away with that. They're side by side as they come through turn 3 into turn 3, sorry, but he's had to concede the position.
Yeah, but I think Fraz maybe just not got the pace anymore compared to the front guys, but it's still very good nonetheless, running in P5. That would be some result for ERL if they could get this one home and dry. So yeah, Bartek Fraz is not putting too much on the line. I think he sometimes understands that wasn't his fight in the end, and Finn now, he'll be happy he can get up into P4 and see if he can try and chase down Sav for that P3 spot.
Martin's picking up a 3-second time penalty there. He's struggling a little bit with his tyres. McLaren all over the back of Bartak at the moment, and Passy getting past the Aston Martin, and Aston Martin has been, what has gone? Has there been a clip? There has been a clip, and I'm not sure if it was Martin's hitting Passy, which meant Leopard hit him, or Leopard hitting Martins and then Martins hitting Passy, but Leopard dispatching off and Joran trying to join suit as well. But into the pits is Levy and Martins and Joran.
Yeah, Joran in the pits as well. That's an interesting one. I'm not too sure if that's damage, and it is damage for Joran, so it's not good for F8. The night they're trying to seal the Constructors' Championship. Levi Martins on no wing change here from him, so he's just had enough of those medium tyres. Now he's gone to the hards to the end of the race, but Joran, for him, that's not what he needed. A very early stop on those medium tyres and yeah, I'll be impressed to see if he can take mediums 20 laps.
Yeah, this will be a struggle for him. Otis, 3.3 seconds in front of Wilson. He's going to need a perfect pit stop currently, but it's all looking well for the Mercedes and the FRA driver. Bartak then closely followed by Carsey. Carsey's picked up his pace since a poor start to the race, and he's now on the attack. Sav, 2.8 seconds in front of Finn. Maybe that's how slow Bartak was going at the time.
Yeah, Bartek has done a great job of staying within the DRS of Finn. He's just getting dragged along ever so slightly as he's coming very close now to this final chicane. It's nearly enough. I think he was going for a move there, he was getting that close, but yeah, just sitting behind him nicely, saving the tyres, getting a bit of DRS back as well, and yeah, showing a little bit of better pace now than he was a couple of laps ago.
So Leopard in P11, the Shizou driver with VSR there. Fierce rivals for the season who are, well, 4th and 3rd respectively, the two teams, Shizou and VSR. That's an interesting one, because VSR Finn at the moment is holding ground in P4, which is great points. Piccolo P7 for Shizou, not as good points, but the two drivers outside of the points, neck and neck, and Leopard will be wanting to break that DRS to the team, to the driver behind. Carsey at the moment trying to desperately get past Bartak, the AlphaTauri in front of him, and he is bringing a few drivers along with him as well. Finn unable to shake the AlphaTauri driver like the two drivers of Finn and Sav was able to before.
Yeah, just want to quickly mention up front, Otis Lawrence is still in the race. It's 3.6 second gap to Wilson. That 3 second time penalty doesn't mean a hell of a lot now when you look at it that way. Wilson as well, though, he's done a fantastic job. I mean, it looks bad when you compare it to Lawrence, but he's 6 seconds clear of his teammate in P3. It really just to show you how quick these two are to be.
So the gap to leader right now. He's gonna come out about the LCR Leopard part. Halo picking up a penalty as well. But that is at the moment Leopard being. Oh, Leopard's made a mistake.
Oh, I think he could be right, but he's certainly in a battle nonetheless, and it's with Iga coming into turn 4, I think this is, and there you have it up into P12. And yeah, I think you're right, I'm not too sure what's happened to Leopard there. But yeah, he won't be happy with that nonetheless. He's dropped the position to Akos, and he'll be looking to try and work his way back now and see if he can try and get past his rival in this Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, not ideal for that at all. Let's go back on board with his teammate then, Piccolo, as he's trying to find a way past Carsey at the moment. It all seems to be bottlenecked at VSR Finn. Finn has been unable to shake away this battle, and he's now 3.7 seconds behind PSR Saab. And this is very, very tough racing for some of these drivers, because when you're battling on your own, the likes of Sav, Wilson, even Otis, it's very difficult to keep your concentrations high.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's not ideal. It's not easy, especially when you're at a track like this. You have to be on it at all times. So yes, so respect to these guys. To and full respect, as always, they're at the highest level in Xbox, and they do make it look very easy at points. But I'm interesting to see. It's like the VSR Finn train at the moment, from Finn all the way down to I think it's Harv and P10 are all within DRS of each other. So yeah, that's a good one to see, and we might see a couple of moves here and there, but it's not easy when everyone's got his DRS. So yeah, those guys in P4 to P10 are all in a little bit of a stalemate position at the moment.
Yeah, Akos 2 seconds away from the points. Wilson a further second behind that. Harv looking like he could get points. A very, very solid set of points for him and the team, especially considering he's on a pad. Piccolo unable to find a way past Carsey. That's the battle we're looking at the moment. Let's go on board with actually Carsey as he looks to get close to the AlphaTauri behind. But no one seems to have the same straight line speed as PSR Sav has had, because he was able to dispatch people down that straight absolutely incredibly. But I think we've got a pit stop for Piccolo. An undercut is on.
Yeah, certainly is. He's not happy with how his race is going, and just looking Carsey at the moment as well. He's looking to try and make a few positions down the inside as well. He went into turn 1, that's side by side with Bartek Fraser, still going side by side. The two of them go, and they're coming into turn 4 and 5 now. Who can make position stick? And it's Bartek Fraser, who at the moment stays ahead for P5.
The battle's on, and that might help VSR Finn just pull away from this battle. Carsey desperate to do something, but maybe the desperation was a bit too much. Piccolo 1.9 seconds behind Farfo, which could cause him, just a little bit of traffic could cause him problems, but some of these drivers could be in trouble with, I think that's Halo into a wall, unfortunately, and that's a safety car. And has that cost Piccolo a lot of time?
I think it has. Also to mention, VSR Finn is spun just before the safety car restart. Just to I see the safety car coming out, I was on board with, I think, was the person behind, and he spun the safety car came out. So yeah, that was a real light off there for Finn. I don't think he's lost a hell of a lot of positions, and yeah, that is a big lifeline for the Ferrari.
Yeah, and I think this means that everyone go on to softs now, the softer compound tyre, the mediums, but Akos is in trouble for double stacking because of Finn's mistake, and that could be very, very crucial come to the end of the season with the battle with Shizou.
Yeah, absolutely. Leopard's well in the mixer now as well. He definitely is going to have a bit of a struggle because of Piccolo. I think he's been held up by the Ferraris double stacking as well because they couldn't get out. So that's not ideal. Piccolo, he's out on mediums, isn't he? I forgot he's already made his pit stop. So he's in P8. He's not lost a hell of a lot. He's not lost too much as well though, so it's not too bad there from Piccolo. LCR Leopard, he's out in 11. And Akos down in 14, so he's definitely had to pay there a little bit for his teammate's mistake.
If anything, this has helped Shizou because that's now Piccolo up into P8 ahead of the VSR guys. It's more points being chipped away from that gap.
Yes, it is as well. That's some very good points to make. So, yes, it's very good. It's very interesting. I think Shizou need to be careful though. They need to try and get some points on the board though, because it's just not enough. I think there's 14 points, I think, between the two teams, or maybe a little bit more than that. My quick math, it's 17 points between the two teams with 3 rounds left. So I think if you're gaining 3 or 4 every week, it's not really enough. You need to get 6, 7, 8 points a week gain to really make a chance of getting that third place for Shizou. So yeah, Shizou need to try and get Leopard in the points as well. He's not far off it now in P11. And yeah, I think this field now getting bunched back up together, it should be a pretty good race to watch.
Yeah, it's going to heat up again. What can Otis Lawrence do? And the penalties are really going to cause problems for these guys. And just, at the moment, I mean, Aiden's recovered a little bit because of that into P7. But some of these drivers with penalties to them, and if the gaps don't open up between them, we could see the likes of Aiden, Josh and Piccolo getting more points than they would have had before.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a joy to safety cars. It's the joys of the F1 game because it just safety cars like that always throw a lovely spanner into the works. Joe ran into the pit now. He's in for some medium compounds of tyres. I'm not too sure. I think he's went soft medium back onto the medium set he's already on. I think, or I'm not too sure, but he's back into the pit lane anyway. And he'll be looking to try and make some positions now as well because he is second last at the moment, a hell of a way off the pack.
Now, this kind of works into PSR's hand a little bit because if they can get Wilson and Sav to attack Otis straight off, they obviously need to outscore. At the moment, they need to outscore Otis by 15 points, and all it takes is for one of them to go in front of Otis, and that does it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that could be interesting. You need to keep an eye out on that one. And Ferrari will definitely not so happy about how it's went out for them so far. One of the drivers out in 18th. It's not what you like to see on your debut race. I also just want to mention FGA Halo. He's currently 19th, a lap down. That's not why I'm mentioning him on track at the moment. He's in between Sav and Bartek Franz as he now pulls off into the pit lane, so that makes his life a little bit better now as well. So that's a bit better. We've not got a lap car in the way, but Halo, I think he's over a lap down now. So yeah, it's been a tough day at the office for the Aston Martin driver. Yeah,
not ideal for the False Group esports team, and that could cost them because Egger is close to points in P12 at the moment, and obviously 8 points between the two of them. 1 point, okay, doesn't get you here past your rivals, but all it takes is just eating away a little bit at those points throughout, and especially with Bunga on 36, so they are 14 points behind False Esports, but they're going to get, is that 10 points tonight or 8 points tonight from 5th place?
Yeah, I think it's 10 points for fifth place. So yeah, if that stands, that would be a joint best result this season. But that 3 second time penalty, yeah, that could possibly leave him vulnerable to losing a few positions. But 13 laps of race, I think it could even be 12 laps of race, and so much is going to happen. There'll be crashes, there'll be spins. So yeah, if he plays his cards right, I think he still could be on for a good result.
Obviously, safety car coming in, so we'll go back to full action in a moment. But is it still Otis Lawrence's race to lose?
I think it is, but not by a country mile. I think Wilson, he smells an opportunity here. When you look at it, 3 second time penalty to Lawrence. Wilson showed that if he can stay within the DRS, he has the pace. There's just about keep him with Otis Lawrence. So if Wilson can keep the head, keep the penalty, the warnings down, and keep without a penalty, I think PSR Wilson could have a chance of an upset.
So, not long to go. The safety car is in the pits. Otis Lawrence, when does he decide to make a bolt for it? Because he knows he's going to have to bolt for it and bolt for it proper. He's still warming those tyres a little bit. And Otis has gone now. I don't think he's left anyone waiting or guessing where it is. But Sav could be under pressure a little bit from Bartak coming down the start sprint straight. And actually, the only one that's really looking like he's going to make a move, possibly Josh. He has a think about it, but isn't anything doing at the moment, unfortunately for him. Harv under increasing pressure from Finn behind as well. Leopard unable to attack the VSR driver at the moment.
Yeah, Finn really got a good start there. So we've got, I think, lots of drivers getting 3 second time penalties. As Finn going down the inside to Harv. Wow, that was ambitious, but that worked. Wow, Harv had to take avoiding action there, but Finn isn't caring. Finn is up into P9.
Yeah, I think Akos was one of the drivers that got a penalty. Harv in major problem right now, and this is going to be problematic because Harv could be dispatched by a few drivers, but there is Shazoo, VSR, and I think that's Egger trying to make a move around the outside of Leopard. That's not someone you really try and make a move around the outside of. He's a bit too wise to those sort of moves. Harv dropping away a little bit, but no DRS to help in assist on overtaking for any of these drivers just yet.
No, I think you're right. It's pretty tough so far from a lot of these guys. There's not a hell of a lot of overtaking going on, so yeah, it's pretty interesting to see out front. Otis Lawrence in a world of his own once again. 1.2 seconds is the gap between our front two, and he's certainly pushing to make sure he doesn't give Wilson a chance of that DRS. So yeah, that's interesting to see up front. And then yeah, just looking in the mid pack as well, there's not a hell of a lot going on so far.
Piccolo tried to make a move on ETE8 and it wasn't enough, and Finn, will he try up the inside? Otis Lawrence is out!
Oh wow, it's not something you say very often, but Otis Lawrence, the man that's been impeccable all season in World and in the main tier of WOR, is out of the race, and that's breaking the hearts of FRA as well. Where the night they could have sealed it, they could have topped off a perfect season. Otis Lawrence is out of the race.
Well, give me about half an hour to pick my jaw off the floor. Wow. For only the second time this season, we are going to see a different race winner from Otis Lawrence.
Oh, I'm speechless. I really am. You know, it's not even he's in a crash. He was on his own. He crashed on his own, and as well as that, the title will go on to next week as well. There is no way now, surely, that PSR mess this one up. They'd have to still outscore FRA by 15 points. It's not a guarantee, but wow, this is huge in the context of the championship because it gives PSR a sniff. But as well as that, Otis Lawrence, you don't see mistakes from this guy happen very often, and yeah, that is a good shot.
Well, wow, he definitely he can't leave his car parked there, but that's nuts. That's just something I've not. Lost for words. PSR then have a probability of taking maximum points tonight, and that is exactly what they need. It's something like 43 points, and that, I mean, it kind of just cements their second place. I can't see them attacking FRA at all. But Otis has done it. What's going to stop the two PSR drivers not to make an incident out of themselves as well? That's something that maybe that's going to be niggling in the back of their mind now. Just thinking, oh, Otis has done it, we can do it, and we need to be a bit more reserved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as well. I am still not over that. Yeah, they'll be wary of that now. It's in the bag, especially for Wilson. The 1-2 isn't guaranteed. Bartek's Fraz will be licking his lips now because he has now got a great chance of getting a good result here. But yeah, this is incredible stuff. You know, as Lawrence, I will still continue to say how amazing he's been all this time on Xbox. But a huge mistake tonight. And it's on his own back. He wasn't fighting anyone. It wasn't necessary to make that mistake, but he did, and he'll learn from it as well. And I think that is a part of racing that he'll learn from. He hasn't had many mistakes this year, but yeah, it's a big one as well, and it certainly leaves this race wide open as well. So yeah, it was huge tonight. That was wow, I can't believe he done that.
Especially with FRA likely to pick 9 points up. Egger has made a mistake. He's binned it on the straight. Is there damage to the car? There isn't. Where's Halo in all this? He's in the middle of the pack. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Because the only other team that have won a race in the Legacy Division is PSR. It's likely they're going to win another one today.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think it was Scyther that picked up that win. Yes, it was. It was Scyther that picked up that win in Monza after a penalty. So, yeah, this is a big one tonight for PSR. I think you're probably right about the end of the constructors. I think it's just only going to be a nice race tonight. I don't think it's going to be any sort of challenge on, but it certainly is uncomfortable for referee. I think it was maybe in party mode tonight. I personally myself as well thought they were going to win it, but unfortunately for them, it did not turn out that way. In PSR now, it's their time to shine.
It looks like there's a mistake from Carsey. He's under incredible pressure from the Alfa Romeo. ETE Aiden's trying to get in it as well. There's nothing separating them as they come into turn one after the safety car restart. It's a little bit of contact, and I think Finn is going to attack. It's trying to attack Piccolo. Where is LCR Leopard and all this? Finn nearly taking the points away from the Shizou team. He's going to surely try and do up the inside again like he did last time round, but Piccolo is not going to let that go. He's not going to be as easy to overtake as Harv was the last safety car restart. Finn's desperate though. He wants to be in front of the Shizou racing team, and look at it from Leopard's point of view. There's contact between the two of them, and that is very, very interesting through that, and I wonder if Piccolo's going to fight his teammate here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he has. Leopard through into P8 now as well. He's been unleashed to try and get involved in this race. I think we've got Halo, who's out in the race further back in this one, but Finn, he was not waiting around there, was he? The elbows were well and truly out, and he managed to get the reward from that as well. Up into P7, the Ferrari goes, but he has to be careful behind him now as well, because LCR Leopard is up into P8.
Yeah, the front two PSR guys trying to pull away from Bartak. At the moment, it's working in their favour, but Finn trying to get an attack on Aiden already, and into turn one. Defensive from Aiden, really pushing. Oh, and Finn is off the track, and he's behind the two Shizou cars, and he could very well be passed by Harv as well.
Yeah, he is. I've just not pushed it that too much there. I think Aiden jumped to the left, and Finn, I think it caught him off guard, and whoever's fault it was at the end of the day, Finn has found himself on the grass and found himself down in the P10 and gave two positions up to Shizou. Shizou in 7th and 8th, VSR down in P10 and 11. This is huge for that battle for P3 in the constructor standings.
Yeah, and for those of you who have only just joined, we have lost Otis Lawrence to this race. He's made a mistake at the exit of turn 7 and into the wall. And that means that we are going to get our third race winner of the season. The 90% of the race victories have been for Otis Lawrence. The rest, well, the singular race for race victory that wasn't his, went to Scyther. But Leopard into P6. Shizou have come alive. Leopard has come to life. He's desperate for more points. Josh, I think, is going to be in trouble now.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been an LCR Leopard masterclass tonight. Qualifying didn't go his way, but I tell you, he has made it up in these 29 laps so far. Up into P6 he goes, and now, as you mentioned, Josh, as the next target for him, and he is looking very feisty, is that Red Bull. Looking up front, PSR, they are looking very good as well. 1.6 seconds of the gap between second and third at the moment. And remember, PSR Sav has that 3-second time penalty, so a 1-2 is not guaranteed just yet for PSR, but oh wow, it is not too far away for those two gangs.
Oh, what? This race has really come to life. This... What is going on? This is incredible stuff. LCR Leopard in the mix of things, and at the moment he'll be P5 with Carsey's penalty. Bartak is currently P2 because of the penalties. This is incredible stuff. Wilson is trying his darn best to help Sav get that away from the penalty situation at the moment, but all it takes is one more crash, one more person to bring out a safety car, and this all comes crashing down for PSR. But at the moment, it's looking incredible. In the background, Typical being attacked by FRA. FRA could still get a point out of this, but penalties, I think it will mean the penalties to the drivers, I think, are all skewed, so I don't think FRA Duran will get a point here.
No, I don't think he will. I don't think it'll matter too much anyway. It's PSR's night so far. 2.5 seconds is the gap now between the two of them. Carsley, he's all over the back of him, but LCR Leopard, 3 second time penalty. That is not what you would want. All that good work has slightly been undone there, and that could possibly cost him a few positions when he crosses that line at the end of this race.
Bartak is under pressure from Carsey, but Leopard, well, that is gutting for him, because at the moment I think Finn might be able to get back into it. Halo retired from the session. He's in the pits. He's not had the best of nights, unfortunately. The FGE driver, but here comes Carsey. How close can he get? It's not close enough on this occasion, but it's looking more and more likely for a PSR 1-2. We haven't had, I don't think we've had a 1-2 since round 9. No, actually, I don't think it was then. Have we had a 1-2 this season? We have PSR, funnily enough, in round 6 in the Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's slightly ironic, isn't it? When your only 1-2 this season comes from the team that hasn't dominated all year. So there you go. This possibly could be a chance to make it another PSR 1-2. And by the looks of it, I think it possibly could be Carsey up into that P3 spot now as well. So that just takes the pressure off PSR, because now as it stands, it is a 1-2 for the two PSR drivers. It's
looking good at the moment. Josh is holding firm with Leopard behind at the moment, but Leopard is looking dangerous. Finn getting past Harv finally. After all that pressure, Akos might... the penalty situation is very weird. Let's have a look at the penalty situation. Duran has 9 seconds worth, so he is definitely not getting any penalties tonight. Harv and Akos both on 3, so Akos really needs to overtake the driver. And up the inside, Leopard not hanging around, clips the alpha of Josh and then decides to stick back behind.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't really up for it there. It was like go-karts enough between the two of them. And yeah, a very, very ambitious move there from Leopard. And I think maybe it's just slightly too ambitious. And lucky to just about keep it on the track. Looking for the back. Oh, a few 3-second time penalties getting flung about there. Harv was the main one that comes to mind. That puts his P10 slightly at jeopardy now. As we approach 3 laps left of this race, it is all of a sudden came alive.
Yeah, and Carsey, he's got pace. He's got incredible pace. He's pulling away from EOL Bartak. And Josh is doing a cracking job in the Alpha as well, but he just can't find all in the end. But look at it from Leopard's point of view. He's diving up the inside. We've seen Finn do it. There was no room given that time around, and Leopard is not going to give that position back up. And there's a... Aiden's into the wall. No way.
You have to feel sorry for him there, and I think that's a safety car as well. It is. Oh, wow.
Oh man, what are we seeing here? Leopard, Sav, Carsey, Finn, all in trouble.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And an FRA, PSR I should say, sorry. Now if you're head in their hands, a 1-2 possibly could be thrown away now, because Bartek, Fraz, could all of a sudden get P2 in this race now with that 3-second time penalty. Josh as well could be on figure it's up with Cole as well. He's in the mix as well without a penalty. So yeah, another safety car in this race, and it won't be out for a long time either. But yeah, I've been trying to see now. I've got a few drivers diving off into the pit lane for wing changes, I think, for the most part. So they're just going in for some fresh, soft compounded tyres.
This. I don't know whether I should laugh or cry at this point with what we've seen. Not cry in a bad way, but I feel so bad. Or so sorry. I can feel the heartache PSR might be having right now, because they're feeling it should be a 1-2 right now. It's not going to be unless something major happens.
Yeah, I think the kind of saving grace is there is a car between Sav and Bartak Fraz, and if Leopard gets a move on, which he loves to do, he loves to make pretty bold moves, then it could possibly leave Bartak Fraz get caught up in a few battles here and there. So yeah, it's not all over for PSR, but yeah, it certainly is a huge shame for them.
Safety car is in this lap. A lot of drivers have a lot of have to get a wiggle on. But if you're PSR Wilson, do you let Sav go? I would if I was Wilson.
Oh, it's a very interesting one. I don't think he will. I don't think it's worth it either. I think you're risking an awful lot. Wilson's got the pace to just drag his teammate along, but I think it's important for PSR to go as early as they can, make the most of the time. This field's a bit spread out as well, but yeah, 2 laps left in this race, so it's not just a 1 lap sprint, it's a 2 lap sprint. That does leave a window of opportunity there for PSR to try and get their second 1-2 of the season.
And a lot of half the grid on fresh tyres, but I'm looking at it from an LCR Leopard point of view, because he's all over the back of the AlphaTauri. He's trying to make a move early. I think he's going to make it into turn 1. He's got to dive it up. He has done. He's into P4, and that is another saving grace to PSR, because Leopard is going to be attacking as a yellow flag for something. That's Akos around. That's big news for VSR.
Yeah, it's huge in terms of this P3 battle. You've got Shizou Leopard and Piccolo doing great up there in the points. Akos not so great. Finn in P9 though, he's got a penalty. Just keep that in mind. But this battle for the 1-2 spot for PSR, it is pretty close at the moment. 2.3 seconds is Fraz's gap to P1, so that is about, I think, 1.7 is the gap between Fraz and Sav. So Bartek, Fraz and Sav. So yeah, there's still a lot bit to play for, but I think Sav might have a chance here to get this second place.
Let's look at it from a leader point of view, and 2.5 between Sav and Wilson and Bartak. There's another yellow flag as well. There is no, and I think that's Akos again. Massive issues coming around. This is incredible to see. PSR doing everything they can. Bartak dropping away. He's trying his best in the background. I think we see Harv having a look at Wilson, maybe. No, sorry. It's Harv having a look at Finn.
Yeah, I think it was the other way around. I think it's Finn on those soft tyres. He's really making the most of the Red Bull of Piccolo. Finn's really going for it. No way in at this corner. Oh, it's nearly contact between the two of them. Oh, it's so close. The medium runner Piccolo, he's hanging on for dear life here. Finn, he's making the most of these soft combat tyres. He's going to send it up the inside as well. It's great racing between the two of them. Piccolo just about gives them the room. And now Finn on the exit. He'll be looking to try and make the most of these softs. There's not much GRS in that Ferrari. The Red Bull's got nothing left as well. It's and this is only for P7, but the ramifications are huge. Piccolo, he's just about hanging on here. He's all the back of him. It's a mistake as well from the Red Bull. Finn's virtually pushed him, and there he goes, Johan. And the Mercedes, he's flying through for FRA. It's nearly 3 wide into the hairpin they go, but Johan, out of absolutely nowhere, up into P7.
This is crazy, and I think that's going to help Piccolo. He's not got penalties to him. I've got to go on board with PSR Sav and Wilson. They're going to cross the line in 1 and 2. How is it going to pan out? Is only time will tell, because, well, how is the podium's going to sit? Bartak's P3. It is a PSR 1-2. Leopard down to 6th. Piccolo 7th. Wow.
Yeah, what an incredible race. Just like 2 weeks ago in USA, a bit of a slow burner, but wow, it certainly did kick off. Some great racing, some great battles throughout that field. Joe ran at the end, he was incredible for FRA. Maybe didn't get the finishing position he ideally would have wanted, but yeah, great race all round, and a huge congratulations to PSR as well. What a race they had, and yeah, a great result as well to show for it.
No celebrations for FRA tonight. There's going to be celebrations for PSR. What a race for these guys. Absolutely impeccable. All the way through the race. Made everything cracking. Otis, for only the second time this season, is not taking victory. And that is how much of a team PSR have been this season. It's been incredible. and it is great to see. They've had so many podiums, more podiums, I think, than FRA. That's something they can take away. But it's PSR Wilson. That is your victor here in Canada with PSR Sav in second place. ERL get their podium this season. That is fantastic for them. Their first podium of the season with Bartak. Carsey in fourth. Great for him as well. Josh in fifth. Another great drive and a great result. Leopard in sixth. Piccolo in seventh. Eighth going to Finn. Ninth to Aiden. Typical in 10th place. Has picking up a point. Harv in 11th, 12th to Farfo, 13th to Akos, 14th to Passy, Ego in 15th, 16th to Duran after those penalties, and Martin's retiring in the end. Otis, Halo, retiring, and that is a mental end to the race. I really don't have words.
Yeah, it certainly was one hell of a race, and one that will probably be remembered for a long time. And yeah, a few pretty iconic moments to go along with it. So certainly a special one tonight.
So we have a few drivers. We've got one driver joining us for podium interviews so far, and the first podium for ERL this season in WR Legacy Division. So I'll hand over to Callum for his. For the questions.
Well, first of all, Bartek, Fraz, a huge congratulations. It was a great result for yourself and your team tonight. Just talk us through how you're feeling after that great result.
To be honest, I'm very happy because Canada is literally my worst track in the game, and and I was so lucky. Also, my last 15 laps was nightmare because I had like 2 warnings, so I was praying just to stay on the track, keep the track limits, and not get a penalty. And yeah, I was a little bit lucky with this last safety car because, to be honest, I was completely out of pace. But anyway, I'm so happy. It's podium for me in my worst track, so I just can't be only happy.
Yeah, well, as much as you say it was your worst track, the pace was certainly there tonight. And especially in contrast to maybe yourself and your teammates in other rounds, you were really up there tonight. Did you expect to be up fighting at the front, or was this a real shock tonight?
To be honest, I just changed my Xbox for a new one, and I see my pace improvement. But still, I knew that it was Canada, so I was just expecting to struggle to get into Q3 and to get top 10. But yeah, so it's really shocked. I'm really in shock now because yeah, I wasn't expecting that completely. I think also the couple of mistakes. I don't know, Otis made a mistake which also helped me a lot. But just racing. So yeah, also congratulations for PSR guys because they were rapid. Just they were in another level. But yeah, I think the race was fun. I saw also behind me a lot of crashes or something, but I don't know what exactly happened. But yeah, I think it was a good race. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. It's interesting to see you mentioned about the new Xbox. Obviously, you were much quicker than you have been this season. Do you think this could be a trend to see in the cup and the kind of future races? Do you think we might see you at the front more often now?
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, as I said, it's a huge difference between the old Xbox and the new one. And yeah, I feel like it's new game, to be honest. But yeah, I hope so that I will be able to compete with the best. But we'll see. I think Brazil is next, so I like this track. And yeah, I have big hopes for this race, but I will do my best for sure.
Oh, very nice. I'll pass you over to Wardler if he wants to ask any more questions.
Well, moving to WR Tier 1, back in Season 11, you took a surprise victory in Austria. Did this kind of feel like that sort of feel at the time? You weren't really expected to take a victory, and you've come in tonight and you weren't. Were you expecting a podium? I'm guessing you weren't expecting a podium. So were you feeling just as surprised with this result?
Yeah, I feel so surprised like in Austria, but yeah, I think Austria was yeah, I think my biggest luck in league races, but yeah, I'm so happy now, and I could go and get drunk. To be honest, I feel feel like that. But yeah. Anyway, I'm so happy, and I feel so good, and the same feelings as in Austria.
And lastly, if you're chosen by ERL for the rest of the season, well, I'm guessing you'll be racing Brazil. What about Miami as well? What's your thoughts on the Miami track?
To be honest, I drove on this track like, I don't know, maybe a couple of times on 5 lappers. So yeah, I literally didn't touch this track too much, but yeah, I will work I will work on me, and I will try to do my best on Miami, but we'll see what time will show.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your podium. Great to see you back racing as well, and
Thank you.
In this major scene as well. It's great to see you, and good luck for the last 2 rounds.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Well, Callum, there we have it. What a crazy race. We were expecting FRA to walk that. Otis was walking that. It was all set for us to, get the banners out, get the parties going. It didn't materialise.
No, it certainly didn't. A huge shock to everyone, and maybe a shock to Otis Lawrence as well. The man that hasn't made a mistake this year, I think maybe an incident here or there, or maybe he made a mistake here. Like, mind their mistakes, but that's a big one tonight, and I think it's a learning curve for him as well, because I think it's, as much as it's great to be winning all the time, I think sometimes your mistakes are just as important as the times that you win a race, because I'm sure you'll learn a lot from that. Maybe not the exact mistake, but just the mindset of it. And maybe just it was a lack of concentration or whatever it is, but I'm sure it's certainly a step to maybe humble him slightly, but not like he needs it anyway. He's a very nice guy, but yeah, it's a huge one tonight. It's not something you see very often, but on one side you've got a very sad camp, the other side is jubilation. It's once again, a huge congratulations to PSR, our second 1-2 of the season, and yeah, I'm sure they'll all be delighted with how tonight panned out.
So 101 points, I think, if my maths is correct, and there's a 73 points to PSR there. I mean, I can't imagine, and this is no disrespect to PSR because they've done a cracking job. Can't imagine PSR winning it, but does this sort of result give them hope?
I think I said that at the time when Otis Lawrence crashed, but maybe caught up in the moment slightly. I think it's still a huge mountain to climb, but you never know. It's a pretty crazy race tonight. Another 2 crazy races happen, then you never know. But I think yeah, it would certainly take a miracle for PSR to have any shot to win this championship.
Fantastic, and we will be back next week, and well, with a I don't want to say a score to settle, but there is a lot of questions to be asked next time around, or answered, because there's only 6 points between Shizou and Visceral. I think Novus gained by an extra point to FGE. Bunga have 4 points to FGE. So there's a lot still to play for this season.
Yeah, there certainly is, and we've seen tonight that the two came to blows the final lap, with Finn and Piccolo, and then Finn throughout the race was very, very aggressive, and he was really getting the elbows out. Leopard done a great job to recover as well, and then Akos, he'll be disappointed by his performance. So yeah, that's a real interesting one that's starting to shape up, and yeah, 2 rounds left. That will be a good one to look out for.
Fantastic. Well, Callum, thank you so much for being alongside me for this one. I look forward to next Friday. Have you got any final words for this?
Just that. Thank you very much to everyone for racing and watching. It was certainly one hell of a race, and yeah, bring on Brazil, because that should be another pretty good race.
We hope so indeed. And to remind you, Brazil is a sprint race as well, so we've got an extra, I don't want to say an extra long show because it's not really an extra long show. We've got extra action next time round anyway, and it's going to be an absolute cracker. And if I remember rightly, Brazil in WR Tier 1, we had another DNF for the champion, Otis Lawrence, who knows what could happen at FRA. But for now, we've had a cracking race here at Canada. Really came alive in the final like 10 or so laps with everything going on, and PSR come home for the second time this season as 1-2 winners. But for now, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.